What's up, guys? It's your boy Just Minus here with another video deck profile. I know it's been a while since my last upload. The last thing I uploaded was the Spirit Charmer structure deck opening. Now I'm making a video deck profile about them. So we're gonna get started right away because I actually already did this, but I was not recording with the camera, so I'm gonna have to redo it. Oh man, it was disappointing when I found out that the thing wasn't recording. But anyways, let's just dive in really quick, and hope you guys enjoy what's coming up. All right, so we're gonna run two copies of the Familiar Persist Auza monster, the Earth monster. I never used her effect, so I'm not gonna go over it. But the deck is really based off of the 1850 attack spellcaster strategy, right? So a lot of the continuous spell cards, a couple of the continuous spell cards, and other things, have to do with the 1850. So, anyways, I run two copies of the Earth one, and then I run one copy of the Fire one, Hida. One copy of Iria, the Water one, and one copy of Wind. So, a lot of people don't run the Fire one. I just run it because I want to have more attributes. The Spirit Charmer deck can really go any direction. It's very versatile, I would want to say, in its own little realm. It could be trap heavy, control type. A lot of people combine it with Dogmatica engine. You can really do anything with this deck, right? Then I have three copies of Fairy Tale Luna. She's your searcher of the deck. She searches for all of your familiar possessed monsters. Wind one, the Earth one, the Fire, and the Water one, right? Its other effect is during either player's turn, you can target face a monster your opponent controls and return it to the deck. Although they can negate that by just sending a card of the same, card that you just targeted and send it to the grave. Otherwise, return them both to the hand. Sorry, not the deck, my bad. They're sent back to the hand. So this card bounces during either player's turn. So a really good card, Searcher, and it can disrupt your opponent when it needs to, right? Now we have the level four beast monsters that work with this Spirit Charmer deck. Archetype is one copy around you. You can special summon this card if you control a spellcaster monster from your hand, but you can only control one at a time. And if this card is a straight battle card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target a monster with 1500 attack or 200 defense in your graveyard except around you and special summon it. So, it can special summon these guys right here. Two copies of Gigabyte. I mean, not two copies, but I run two copies, right? So, same thing, special summon from the hand if you control a spellcaster, you can only control one at a time. If he's a straight battle or card effect and sends to graveyard, special summon a monster with 1500 attack or 200 defense from your deck. So this one's from the grave, this one special summons from the deck. Alright, and that's your water one. And lastly, for the level 4 beast monster, we have three copies of Nefarious Archfiend, Eater of Nefariousness. Same thing, special summon from hand. If you control a spellcaster, you can only control one at a time. His effect is once returned to your opponent's end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target a face-up monster you control and destroy it. And if you do, special summon this card. Again, it really depends on what's going on in the field at the time, but it can come in handy, special summoning himself from the grave. And now we're gonna move on to their level up monsters. Awakening of Possessed Rasenyu. And all the level up monsters, when they're sent to the graveyard, it lets you add a possessed spell or trap card to your hand. So that's good. Now, if these guys are special summoned by their own effect, which is, here stated, send a face-up spellcaster monster and one face-up level 4 lower and 1 monster you control to the graveyard and special summon it. His effect is, if this card is special summoned by its own effect, you can you can return one card your opponent controls to the hand. So it bounces and it doesn't target. So really good. Then we have the water version, Awakening of the Possessed Gigabyte. Same thing, it lets you add a spell or trap card if it's into a graveyard. That's a possessed card. And you can special summon him by sending a spellcaster and water monster, level 4 lower water monster. And if this card is special summoned, you can send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. Then each player draws one card. So it's a 50-50, what they're going to send, but you get that additional draw that might come in handy. And lastly, it's going to be the Earth one. against special summon by sending a spellcaster and a level 4 lower earth. And if this card is summoned by its own effects, you can special summon a level 4 lower monster from the graveyard but negate its effects. So he extends your place. So a really good card. Now we're gonna move on to the last monsters in the profile. Is Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Everybody knows what this does. I didn't want to run like MST or other spell and trap cards that destroy spell and trap cards. So I run this. It lets me destroy monsters or spell and trap cards that activate their effects while they're already on the field. So it's a good hand trap. You can run anything really, Ash Blossoms or some other generic hand trap. But I run 3. I like it. I like this card at 3. Lets me get over some things. Now we're gonna move on to our spell cards. We have our quick play spell card right here, Spirit Charmers, which was a new card in the structure deck. Like I mentioned in the structure deck in my box opening, the one thing I didn't like about this card is that it's not searchable. It didn't have the name Possess Spirit Charmers or something, right? Something with the word Possess on it so it can be searchable through the level 5 monsters. But anyways, enough about the bad things. The great thing about this card, it's your main searcher. This card needs to be run at 3. So, you activate it by discarding 1 card. Take 2 cards from your deck with different names from each other that are Charmer monsters, Familiar Possessed monsters, and or Possessed spells and traps, and add 1 of them to your hand, and set the other. You can only activate 1 per turn. So, really good card, lets you essentially search out 2. 1 to your hand and 1 on the field. So, definitely want to run 3 of. Nothing less, nothing more, obviously. Next, the card that this deck is that revolves around this the card that this deck focuses on is Awakening of the Possessed. Oh, sorry guys, I cut my tongue there. So this is probably the most important card for my build. Essentially, it has 3 effects. Monsters you control gain 300 attack for each different attribute you control. So if you have 3 of these on the field, they stack. So you're getting 900 for each attribute. Then, Charmer and familiar possessed monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So as immunity, great. It protects my Charmer and familiar possessed monsters. And lastly, if a spellcaster monster with 1850 original attack is normal or special summoned to your field, draw 1 card. That's a hard once per turn. So, it protects, it boosts, and it lets you draw. What else could you want? And it's searchable, thank God, right? So 3 copies of, and 3 copies of I would recommend all the time. Next we have generic copy of Double or Nothing. Everybody knows what this one does. It combos with the Utopia monsters, obviously. And then 1 Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is always good. Never a bad card. Then I have 2 copies. Now for the trap cards, I have 2 copies of Possessed Partnerships. Now Possessed Partnerships you could run at 3. I like it at 2 because it's searchable. And when it's by itself, it doesn't do a lot, especially if you have no spellcaster monsters in your hand. But essentially, what this card does is you can special summon a spellcaster monster with 1500 defense from your hand or graveyard in attack position or face down defense position. Then, if you control 2 or more attributes, you can destroy 1 face-up card on the field. Really good card, really. Since obviously the normal summon in this deck is really important. If they stop your normal summon in this deck, it's gonna be tough to rebound. This card helps you with that rebound, because it lets you special summon the familiar possessed monsters from the graveyard or the hand. Lastly, its other effect is you can banish this card from the graveyard and target a possessed continuous spell or trap card in your graveyard and place it face up on your field. So it recycles your Awakening of the Possessed or the other trap card, which is Unpossessed. So with Unpossessed is it protects your Charmer monsters from battle. Familiar possessed monsters you control that attack, it gain 800 during the damage step only. And if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is already face up on your field, special summon 1 spellcaster monster with 1500 defense from your deck whose attribute is different from at least 1 of those destroyed monsters. So I mean, this guy really just its best effect I would say is if your monster gets destroyed by battle card effect, you can special summon another one from the deck with 1500 defense as long as it's a different attribute. Now we're gonna move on to the last of the trap cards. They're gonna be pretty generic staples. Infinite Impermanence at 3. Really good card. Stops your opponent's monsters from going off. Then we have 3 Solemn Strikes. You pay 1500 life points, but they're totally worth it. When a monster would be special summoned or a monster can effect is activated, pay 15, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So good card. And lastly, we have Crackdown. Again, this deck revolves around the continuous spell card. So if you take an opponent's monster and it's a different attribute, great. You're getting more attack points now. And it just makes it very difficult for the opponent to get over your monsters with so many attributes on your side of the field. So a really good card. And that was pretty much it for the main deck. Now we're going to move on to the extra deck. And it's going to be pretty staple, I would say, in terms of other Spirit Charmer deck profiles out there. But let's just get started. We have Iria, the Water Charmer Gentle. Let's special summon a water monster from your opponent's graveyard. Or lets you search for a water monster with 1500 defense from your deck to your hand if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect or battle. So that's that, and all the Charmer Link monsters essentially do the same thing. They special summon depending on the attribute they are, and they add depending on the attribute they are. So obviously next one's going to be the Wind Charmer Verdant. Then Auza the Charmer Immovable. And lastly, Hita the Fire Charmer Ablaze. And obviously they're all 1850, so when you summon these, guess what? You're adding that one card from the continuous spell card, assuming you haven't already activated it. So yeah, 4 of the different ones. I can't wait for the new one to come out, actually, the light one, hopefully soon. But yeah, really expensive cards, actually, too. Now we have 1 copy of Ipmaskarina. Everybody knows what she does. And, with every Ipmaskarina that's in your extra deck, you run the Nightmare package, which is Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus, and Nightmare Unicorn. This blows up spells and trap cards by discarding card. This blows up monsters, and this one bounces, I believe, any card if I'm not mistaken. Any card on the field and shuffles it back into the deck. So really good, really just a really good package for any deck that doesn't have extra deck monsters based off of that archetype that they're building on, right? So really good. Then we have 1 copy of Celine. She's awesome. Again, that 1850 helps because, the continuous spell card. Her effect is, if she is link summoned, play spell counters on this card equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyards, and that goes for both. And with those counters, once per turn during the main phase, quick effect. Remove 3 spell counters from your field. Special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard. And put it in a zone discard points to. So, alright, it's my turn. Let me special summon my Earth one from the grave. Opponent's turn. Let me special summon a Water one now. And obviously, if you have the continuous spell card, she just gets stronger and stronger. And also your other monsters. And again, you just build a wall of attack, and it's hard for the opponents to just get over. Not even 3k beat sticks can get over if you have 4 attributes on the field with 3 of the continuous spell cards. And then the last link monster I have is Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. Everybody knows what she does, so I'm not gonna go over it, but really good card. You can run any other link for generic monster really, but I prefer this one for this deck. Then for the XC lineup, we have 1 number 41 Baguska. You summon this guy in defense, and essentially what it does is every time a monster is summoned, they're switched to defense, and any monster that's in defense, their effects are pretty much negated. So if you want to stall it out, Baguska's a good guy. Then we have 1 copy of number 39 Utopia. 1 copy of number S39 Utopia the Lightning for that OTK. Number 39 Utopia Double again for that OTK. And lastly, we have 1 copy of good old Gaga Cowboy. This deck really, this guy comes up a lot, surprisingly. You can literally just Cowboy for game in this deck. So since the deck is built around the continuous spell card, you're just swinging and swinging with big monsters, right? I mean, not big, they gain the attack, but you know what I'm saying? And when you're done in the battle step and the opponent's like at 600 life points or 400 or 800, I've encountered that situation so many times, so I just ended up just adding this guy. Why not? Go to main phase 2, XC summon my 2 level 4 monsters, and boom, game. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys liked my profile. Sorry it took a little while to upload another video. It's just I had some other things to take care of first. But yeah, now stick around because I will do a 3-card combo really quick just to give you a little explanation of how this deck works. But yeah, so let me just do that actually. Alright, just give me 1 second. Okay guys, so this is going to be your starting hand right here. Now for all intents and purposes, I put Fairy Tale Luna here because this is the best way possible. But this is going to be your starting hand, and this is a 3-card combo that I personally enjoy the best. So you're going to summon Fairy Tale Luna. With Fairy Tale Luna, you're going to search for any of your familiar possessed monsters of attributes that you do not have, in your hand. So obviously you already have water and earth, so don't worry about those. Now you're going to go for either heater or wind. In this case, I'm going to go for wind. Because I have the bigger monster, beast monster in this deck, so I'm gonna go with wind. So now that I add it, I'm gonna special summon these two right here. It doesn't matter where you put them, I guess, just for this purpose right now. And with this, you gotta be careful here because a lot of people try to send the water level 5 first. But no, what you want to do is you send these two first, and sort of summon the level 5 earth monster first. And what's going to happen, oops, sorry, let me special summon. So you special summon this from the deck. And once you do that, this lets you special summon a level 4 or lower monster. Obviously, you want this one to come back. You want the Luna to come back because it's a spellcaster. So you special summon it, its effects are negated, that's okay. Really what you're going to need her for is to do this. So now that you have those two, this one back, you send these two. You send the spellcaster and the level 4 water monster to special summon YuGiOh. And YuGiOh, I believe, I already put it aside. Oh, here it is. So, special summon YuGiOh, and its effect activates. You send a random card your opponent controls from the hand to the graveyard. And then you draw a card. So, we're going to draw the card, and it does it. Oh, cool. Solemn Strike. So, it doesn't really matter what you get, right? But, good card. So, in this stage, what you do is you link these away. And you special summon. You can do either water or earth, really. Let's just go for earth, right? So we're gonna summon the link earth monster, immovable, and now these will activate chain 1 and chain 2, or chain 1, chain 2, or chain 1, chain 2. It doesn't matter. But then now you get to add the spells or trap cards, and here you're going to look for the Awakening of the Possessed. And you can go for a second copy if you want, but I'm going to go for the Possessed Partnerships. So you add those to your hand. Put these back here. You add those to your hand, right? Now you set one. You activate this one. And obviously you got the strike. And that was pretty much the combo right there. Now the advantages here is that one, you already have the win in your hand. So with Possessed Partnerships, you can special summon from the hand in your opponent's turn. And obviously if you activate that, since you control 2 different attributes, you can pop their card. That goes through. Then you draw your card, which is a Monster Reborn. And now they're going to be at 600 attack each. So this is going to be 2450 and 2450 because it makes them gain that boost, right? So, and you'll have this for protection. And these can't be destroyed by card effects. And that's pretty much the 3-card combo, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. It's your boy Just Minus, and I'm out.